Alrighty. Can everyone hear okay? Throw me a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Alrighty, well, welcome everyone. I think we're gonna keep having people trickle in, but it is super lovely to have you all here. We are excited to launch our October monthly meeting in which we are going to be talking about teams, which is super exciting. There's a lot of information packed into the next hour, and I have every anticipation that we will have there will be questions, and we will sort through it, and this is just really meant as a high level, like whetting everyone's appetite and giving you a sense of what's to come, and then also hearing from you all. So to kick things off, if you can all put into the chat, we wanted to just know your name, your pronouns, and if applicable, either what you or perhaps your kids or children in your life are going to be for Halloween. As a pediatrician mentor of mine once said, Halloween is the day that pediatricians shine. So it's still true. Alrighty, so we'll keep on going. Schwinn, can you go forward one?
Yeah, so
sorry.
My name is Ashley McClure. I'm a primary care doc and co-founder of Climate Health Now and co-director with Amanda and our leadership team that we'll talk about soon. So I don't know about y'all, but this reflects a lot of how I'm feeling lately. And I just wanted to share this, and then we'll actually take a minute just to like breathe and arrive all together after this. But this quote from somebody I admire a lot, Adrienne Marie Brown, says that things are not getting worse, they're getting uncovered, and we must hold each other tight and continue to pull back the veil. So it's a big cyber hug to all of you, because this is the community that I hold tight, and it really helps me navigate when things feel really overwhelming. So if we go to the next slide, and we're actually going to take 1 minute. Another quote that I love from the artist Banksy. So if you get tired, learn to rest, not to quit. So I'm just going to invite everybody who wants to possibly close your eyes, and we're literally going to just take a minute to like breathe, check in with yourself, maybe mute Vanessa if possible, if you could mute your audio. So I'll start a timer now, but we're just going to take a minute to just really breathe. And I do invite you, if you want, to just close your eyes and just check in with how you doing today.
Yeah.
You might do something like, put your hand on your own heart and just follow your in breath and out breath. And just take a pause from receiving and being focused outward. Maybe relaxing your forehead and shoulders. That was quick, but wow. I'm trying to do that more in my day, and hope you get space for yourself too. So we can go to the next slide. Love that, Banksy. All right, that's you.
Alrighty, awesome. Alrighty, so we are going to revisit our mission, just to ground ourselves in that. So Climate Health Now is a group of members of the California health community who advocate for climate action in our state through a health and equity framework. We use community organizing to build our base of climate engaged health, allied health, healthcare administrator professionals and workers across the state to leverage our trusted health voices in support of the climate justice movement, ultimately to protect health and achieve health equity.
Woohoo!
Lots in there.
Yeah, and then next slide, please, Schwinn.
Awesome. Okay, so we are going to, again, cover quite a bit of ground. We're going to start by welcoming new members or people who haven't been on a CHN call in a while. So we'll start with that. We're going to hear from our transitional leadership team, which is in the process of possibly choosing a different name, which we'll announce to you all. We're still getting a sense of where we want to go. And then we're going to dive into talking about teams and the 5 teams that we're starting to build. And again, high level. And we're going to end with giving you all information about how you can connect more with the team or teams in which you're interested in. We have a feedback form for you all. And then we have some save the dates and some closing remarks, and hopefully lots of space also for questions and more conversation.
And next slide. So a big thank you to Shawin, who is already screen sharing, because it's really helpful to work as a team. Also to Shawin for keeping us on time with tracking time. And then Noma, if you wouldn't mind being our norm champion, that'd be great. And Brenda is monitoring the chat to bring in anything that we should talk about. So thank you, everybody. And next slide. So Noma, if you want to call one out to focus on for today, that'd be great.
So CHN has some agreed upon norms, as you can see on the slide. I am going to take it one by one and start with number 1, and which is assume positive intent. So I'll be monitoring the chat and conversations, and the essentially just making sure that we all understand that we're all coming from a place of learning, and we all desire the same goals. So I will be monitoring that we adhere to norm number 1. So I will be raising up my hand or putting up like a little comment in the chat if I see that we're kind of straying from those norms. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Alrighty, this is you.
Yeah. So I think I saw one person, maybe Carla, but if anybody if this is your first meeting that you've joined us, or if it's been, over 6 months or so, we'd love to just get your voice in the room, and maybe take 30 seconds or so each to share your name, what your day job is, where you live and work. We would love to welcome you. Do you want to go maybe first, Carla?
Sure. Hi, I'm Carla. I'm a family medicine doctor, but I'm a community medicine fellow, so that's how I got to know you, Dr. McClure. Just trying to learn a little bit more about how I can be an active participant for this cause.
Great. Where do you live?
I live in Rancho Cucamonga. I think maybe some of you are more north, but that's in Southern California and Inland Empire. So
I know it.
I work with a lot of free clinics out here.
Cool. My cousin lived there for a while. Great. We're really glad you're here. Thanks for joining.
My best friend from medical school grew up in Rancho Cucamonga.
Oh, well, I
Yeah.
hope I run into them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Maybe Pam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry, I was eating, which is why I turned off my video. Yeah, I've been on these meetings before, but I think it's been at least a few months. I'm an infectious disease specialist in Torrance, so also in Southern California.
Great. We're glad you're here. And we welcome everybody having lunch. We know we're all doing a lot, so no shame in that. Anybody else want to say hi? Okay, great. Oh, Nightingale, do you want to say hi? It's been a little while. If you want
She might just be connecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So we're glad you're here. And for those who come regularly, we're also really glad you're here. If you want to say hi sometimes, please do. Then we can go to the next slide. All right. So this is a graphic that has a lot of content, and we're going to come back to it over and over, actually, for possibly the year ahead, because it literally is the structure that we're filling in. And this is what we've come to through the listening sessions that we had, the one-on-ones, the consultant process that we had with building for mission. So we're going to come to this one by one and to kind of show how we're building it as a community. So the first, if you can go push one forward. the first place we'll focus on for CHN's new structure that will take 6 or more months to fill out is the statewide leadership team. And that's the group that's going to make decisions pertaining to CHN's statewide campaigns and our movement capacity and what our community can contribute to the broader climate movement. So we have a transitional statewide leadership team. And if you can go to the next slide, we would love to introduce you to these amazing people. Margie Chen is on that team, the transitional leadership team. She's currently gallivanting in Morocco, so she's with us in spirit, but not in this meeting. So Margie's with us as a membership co-chair, and I'll speak to her that she'll be helping launch the local hub teams that I'll speak to today in her absence. And then I'll pass it to Noma and we'll do intros and go around counterclockwise.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noma Ojaku. I'm an OBGYN based in Sacramento. I am your new membership co-chair of the Transitional Leadership Team. I am looking forward to working with each and every one of you, and both those present and those to come. All right.
Great, you want to introduce yourself, Brenda? Also on vacation, thank you for joining.
Hi, everybody. Name is Brenda Nguyen. Sorry, I can't get my video to work on my laptop, but I do have a screenshot of what I look like in my little picture there. Yes, I'm calling in from Denver on vacation now, but taking a little bit of time to speak with you all during this hour meeting. I will be your new resource team chair. So we'll be going into the resource teams idea later on in this presentation and what the current resource teams will be and how everyone can get involved and start to help all of us build this up. So very excited to work with everybody here, and you'll be hearing from me in just a few short moments. Oh, and also I am a comprehensive ophthalmologist based in Santa Monica, so SoCal as well.
I love it. And we'll go to you, Shuin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shuin Chang. I'm a family nurse practitioner here in Los Angeles, so also SoCal. I'm excited because I feel like there's a lot of SoCal in the meeting today. But I am the transitional leadership team's coordinator, so I'm just helping to organize our efforts and make sure that we hit our goals and we keep everyone organized and informed of what's going on.
Great. We're really glad you're with us. Apologize for the helicopter overhead. So in my role on the transitional leadership team, I'm helping to build our coalitions. And so part of that is the building kind of the organizations that we will collaborate with. And I'll leave it at that. Pass it to Amanda.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I think I know almost everyone on this call. I'm Amanda Milstein. I'm a pediatrician, and I'm going to be the communications chair on our transitional leadership team. And the other big announcement I will share right now, I think some of you I've shared this with already, but I actually am leaving my clinical practice at the end of December for a year at least to work on Climate Health Now full time. So you will hear a lot more from me most likely, but it's pretty exciting. So big changes to come.
Exactly. Oh, thank you, Shuin. And then back to our our map. So if you could push the next slide or forward. So I'm going to start by talking about the local hubs, and we'll go into this more. But the local hubs are going to be kind of geographically divided across our enormous state, and they will help to organize local participation in the statewide campaigns. And the statewide campaigns, again, will be guided by the statewide leadership team, or for now, the transitional leadership team. So we can push to the next slide. And the reason we need these teams.
Yeah, we're bouncing back and forth a bit here, but what we want to ground in again is the reason we're building these teams is for fun, for fun, not just for fun, but to actually be effective and to carry out our strategy. And as you have heard from us before and probably will, hear many times over, but we want to come back to exactly what it is that strategy is and what it is we're trying to do. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to activate and enable the California health community. So any person in California who works in a health-facing role, from administration to medical assistants to
I'm listening, but it's okay. You can talk for just a minute.
Oh, thanks. To people who work in construction on hospitals. We want to build a huge tent of the California health community who is coming together to advocate for legislation and regulation at the state level to advance climate, health, and equity, using the U.S. call to action on climate, health, and equity as our sort of policy pillars and platforms. So everything relates back to how are we going to actually carry this out.
Mm-hmm. And then next slide. So for now, the local hubs, we could go as granular as like city, or just break down California by North Cal and SoCal like some groups do. But the idea of the local hub, which will be launching in the next few months, is that a local hub is a group of members within a geographic region. So you have that like identity of place together that supports and joins Climate Health Now in statewide campaigns, and those could be legislative or regulatory, through actions at the state and regional level. So, one, just to put an example out there, is something we were involved in almost a year ago at this point, was SB 467, the setbacks rule, or bill that we didn't pass, but the idea is that the local hubs would help to activate and kind of lobby, advocate to their locally elected state assembly members and state senators to get their vote on our statewide campaign. So it's a way to divide up all the decision makers in those efforts in order to be really effective. So that's the main idea of the hubs, is it's geographically divided, and then those teams will collaborate in our statewide. So it's making us much more powerful because we have the team, working more locally. And to your question, Renata, for sure we will share these slides out.
We can share.
I'm glad you like them. And then next slide. So this is a rough draft of how we're thinking about dividing California up. I mean, 40 million people, this is like a lot of, it's a lot to try to kind of organize, but we really want your feedback. And I want to really highlight that this map was made by Margie. We're really grateful for that. So through the work we've done in the past 3 years, it's pretty apparent that the Central Valley has a really unique identity, really unique challenges. So we really want to prioritize that. It's also been a uniquely hard place to organize and to find allies, and it's very complicated for a lot of reasons. So it's also a place we want to grow. So we're thinking Central Valley, Northern California, and Southern California. And this is a first draft, and we actually, in the form that we'll share at the end, there's a place, I think just I don't know.
Yeah, we'll share.
Maybe we'll share it at the end, but maybe look at your own county right now and just kind of have the question, and then you can share it in the form in a few minutes. But does your county identity like fit with which hub you're in? So, some of the questions that really stand out are like, I'm not sure if San Luis Obispo really does identify more with Southern California and has kind of the challenges and politics of Southern California, or Northern California. I don't think it's central, but we've run this through a handful of members. Like Noma looked at this, and Jet and Bill, but we want more feedback to make sure that this feels accurate and that we're kind of heading in the right direction. So just, this is kind of the first iteration, and we really want your feedback. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. But this is a rough draft, and then we can go to the next slide. And then each local hub, which they're large, they're more regional, but we're calling them local for now. And each local hub will also have a local leadership team, because any team to be effective needs that, really clear leadership team that has its clear roles and, all the things that make a team run really well. So eventually we'll get to the point where the local leadership team is elected by members in the hubs, and there will be 4 specific positions for the local leadership teams. For today's purposes, we're not going to get into the details of what those roles are exactly, but we're sharing this because we want to get your feedback at the end in that form of, do you feel like you want to work more with local folks on the state, like you're part of the statewide campaign, or do you feel more like you want to work on one of the resource teams that Brenda will tell you about? So after this meeting, we're going to have some interest group meetings where we'll go more into the details of like, what are those roles and what are the commitments if you take one of those leadership roles. But that'll be in the interest groups meetings that are coming up. So for today's purposes, just know that they're going to have these 4 roles. We're going to be looking for those and meeting with members who are interested, but they will have leadership teams. Then we can go to the next slide. And these are those interest group meetings. So we're trying to offer, more like midday and evening so that it works for more people. So we've penciled these in, and in the form at the end of the meeting today, we just are going to ask you, like, if you're interested in learning more about what the leadership positions are, and then we will send you invites to these meetings based on what you share in that form. So these are going to be coming up, and they'll be, just people from Central Valley will be coming like on November 10th and 15th, and that'll be where we go more into the details.
And Vanessa, do you want to just come off mute? And I just want to make sure I understand your question.
Well, I understand that can you hear me? The hubs are going.
Oh, we lost you. Your audio went out, Vanessa. Okay. So maybe we could take a stab at what you put in the chat. So will leadership team members reflect representing all parts of the hub? You mean all geography? For sure the leadership team members will be from the hub. Is that the question?
I don't know if I know exactly.
Yeah,
I think Vanessa will have to come back to that. And then another, again, there's much weedier stuff here that we're trying to stay high level, but possibly another aspect of this question is related to there will be representation from each of the hubs ultimately on the leadership team, the statewide leadership team as well, so that we have that connection between the 3 hubs and then what's going on with the statewide leadership team. That may have also been what you were getting at. So yeah, I would say yes to both of those things. The local leadership team is all from that local hub, and then one person on that local hub is going to have a spot on the statewide leadership team.
That's a good point. Yeah. Any other questions? We have time for like 1 or 2 before we transition to the resource teams. Okay. So we could go to the next slide. Oh yeah, and if none of those times work for you, let me know, and we will work with what you got. Okay, so now we'll be transitioning. Push forward one more time, please, Schwinn. So I'm going to pass the baton to Brenda, who's going to speak about the resource teams, and we'll go from there.
All right, thanks, Ashley. Great. So I'll be speaking about these resource teams. On this graph, you can see that we currently are suggesting 2 resource teams here. We have CHN Speaks, which supports local hubs with speaking materials and training. And our second resource team will be about decarbonization, which will support the local hubs with local decarbonization efforts. And as you can see on this graph, resource teams are purely there for support to help the local hubs exert their actions and make sure that everyone feels supported here with all the materials and training necessary for us to take action. Next slide, please. Next slide. That's me. Great. So resource teams here. Resource teams provide the support for essential organizational functions and expertise on cross-cutting substantive and practical issues as defined by the statewide leadership team. Next, click. So resource team membership is open to all CHN members who have particular interests or skills relevant to the work of the team and who commit to fulfilling the charge of the team as defined by the leadership team. And just I wanted to say also that just like Amanda had mentioned earlier in this presentation, we are going to go over really broad level descriptions of what these teams will be about. The more nitty gritty and the more individual kind of granular details will be discussed more in the interest group meetings. And as we move on forward, we want everyone's feedback, suggestions, comments about anything that we are discussing moving forward. Okay, next. Okay. Every resource team will have a leadership team made up of at least 2 positions elected by the members of the resource team. Great, next. Okay, so just as we mentioned already, so we will be preparing to launch 2 resource teams in the coming months. The first one is CHN Speaks. Again, all about speaking with peers, patients, policymakers, and the public about the intersection between climate, health, and equity. And our second team will be the Healthcare Decarbonization Resource Team. So this team will be sharing information, resources, best practices across members relating to sustainability and decarbonization. Also, I think an important aspect of this team will be to connect members and help people network across different practice types, locations, and systems. That way we can all really take advantage of the fact that we're such a large organization and help push forward the actions that we need to affect as much change as possible. All right, next slide. All right, I think we have some repeat slides here. I think it's pretty clear to everybody here that we'll have these 2 resource teams. Next click. So CHN Speaks, and the next click, Decarb. Right, next slide. Okay, so a little bit more detail about CHN Speaks resource team. So again, we will be supporting local hubs with speaking materials. This will include a slides library, an articles and resources library. So again, lots of resources, lots of pertaining information to help our members present about the intersections between climate, health, and equity to all sorts of audiences. And we will also be supporting local hubs with different types of trainings so that people feel confident, feel secure, and feel that they can put their voice forward to speak about these important issues. Next slide. So we're thinking, at least at this point, about different target audiences that CHN Speaks can help present to. So we have peers, number 1, and this is the broader California health community. So made up of, our members, CHN, and then also anybody else who would want to become part of our larger organization. A second target audience would be policymakers. So this is how then we affect change on a legislative level, so local and state. And then thirdly, the public and our patients or clients or people that we work with and we are supporting in our day jobs. So media outlets, speaking to them, also other climate organizations, educational institutions like schools, and community groups like religious groups or any other community group who would like to hear from us to learn more about the issues that we are concerned about. Next click. So obviously these are all very broad and varying target audiences. So I think at this point we are considering at least providing speaking materials and trainings to speak with our peers. So again, the broader California health community. And eventually we'll be developing materials and trainings to speak more directly to policymakers and the public and their patients. Next slide. So we will have interest meetings coming up, just like with the local hubs. So if you are interested in CHN Speaks, on the form that will be sent to everyone later in the presentation, we have 2 dates. So an evening date and like a midday date. And hopefully that will help kind of answer any questions and also help give you more detail about what CHN Speaks will be all about and how you can get involved and what that involvement could look like. And of course, if you can't make it to either meeting, then it's not a worry at all. You can definitely contact CHN in general. I believe we have an email, or we have various emails that people can contact in order to learn more about what this resource team is all about. Okay, next slide. All right, so we talked about CHN Speaks, and now we're going to go into the decarb resource team. So next slide. So the CHN Decarbonization Resource Team will be supporting local hubs with number one, education about healthcare emissions. So learning where these emissions are coming from in our healthcare systems, specific and also broader level. So number two, networking among our members within the same practice setting, healthcare institution and profession, et cetera, to further and strengthen ongoing decarbonization efforts. And we'll also be supporting local hubs with different trainings. So some of you may have heard of the My Green Doctor series led by Dr. Todd Sachs, and we'll be going through that more thoroughly and in more detail if you decide to be involved with this resource team. Okay, next slide. And again, there will be interest meetings about the decarbonization resource team. So these dates here, an evening time and a midday time. And again, of course, if you can't make it to either, then please do feel free to contact us, and we can certainly make sure that we set up a separate meeting time to answer all your questions and to make sure that we help provide the information necessary so you learn more about what it's like to be involved with this resource team. All right, next slide. And again, here are the meeting days and times. And again, this information will be in the form that will be sent out later on in this presentation. All right, next slide. Great.
So any questions so far? We definitely have time built in for questions or comments, ideas. Okay. So, but do, and let us know when those come up. So this is just a rough draft, kind of sketching out the steps of the next, 5-6 months or so. So November is around the corner. So if you push forward to win. So we'll, be having these team interest group meetings, like learning who's interested in whether working on the local hubs or the local hub teams or the resource group, resource teams. There could be people who want to do both. And if you have that kind of time, then, we're really open to exploring that. We just want our members to be able to feel like this is, sustainable for the marathon, not the sprint. So I would just, encourage you to kind of do what you need for your own bandwidth to be involved, of course, but if one being involved in one feels right, then we would certainly welcome that. But for overachievers, we wouldn't say no either. So those interest group meetings to learn more about the details, and like to your question, Ilana, about the time commitment. So that's kind of what we'll get more of in the interest group meetings. And the time commitment for members who are participating might vary based on the role that you take. The time commitment for the leadership roles, we have like guesstimates, but those are kind of the details that that we hope to get into in the interest group meetings that are coming up. So very good question. I'm trying to ask that more often myself.
But I think to be sort of broadly speaking, to be a member of any team, there's going to be a broad range of time commitments, where it could be everything from, I'm in a sign one thing a year and just look at the emails, ranging from that all the way to I want to hold a leadership position on this team and be part of the statewide leadership team. There's going to be a whole spectrum, but we know firsthand all too well how busy all of us are. And so our goal is to really offer a huge spectrum of ways for people to activate and be involved, and lots of ways for people who are not able or in a position where they can step up their time commitment, that they can still take some meaningful actions with us.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Alana? Hopefully. Okay, let us know if not. Okay, and then thank you, Swin. So then November, December, starting to do one-on-ones. And so for those people who, feel like I'm interested in maybe being the, team coordinator or the membership recruitment person, or the member of, the state leadership rep. So then we would follow up one-on-one, and for the resource teams, that would be with Brenda, and then Amanda might participate in those. And then if you're interested in possibly having a leadership role on a local team, then that would be Margie and I. We would be kind of following up, I guess, 2-on-1 with members who are interested in that. So that'd be November, December. And then January, we are imagining that the teams launch. And one of the things that I learned a lot from working with Pedja and others is that, there needs to be some foundation invested in teams. So before teams even start taking action together, we want people to come together, to name what the roles are, to name what the norms are, to state our commitments to each other, how we, what we do when those commitments aren't upheld. So those really important kind of parts, process of launching teams. That's what we imagine starting in January with the new year. And then February, March, that's when we imagine that the statewide leadership team, which for now is the transitional leadership team, which is Noma, Shawin, Brenda, Margie, Amanda, and I, we will, at that point, through feedback from partner organizations and ally organizations, we will propose an undetermined number. So maybe 1, maybe 2 or 3 advocacy campaigns that then CHN is going to put all our eggs in those campaigns for the year probably. So we will know that through kind of conversation with ally organizations and policy experts in February and March. And then March and maybe February, we hit the ground working and really, working really hard to leverage the heck out of our uniquely trusted role in society in the interest of making our campaigns really successful in coalition with, organizational partners. So that's roughly what we're working on. So this is a really exciting time. There's a lot happening, but for now, the main question, the next step, is learning which of these areas calls to you and what you want to be a part of. We all know, teamwork makes the dream work, and so we want to learn where you want to spend your time, and which team feels like the right one for you, and then we'll start kind of slowly laying the groundwork to make these teams really deliberate and really effective and really fun also. So we really want that to be a big part of CHN. This is, I've said this before, but for me, getting involved in collaborating and community organizing with colleagues like each of you has made being a doctor way more meaningful and fun. And so that's real, and that's not secondary. That's we want our relationships to really be what we care for as much as the work, and that's what these teams are all about. So Brenda, I think this says you. I don't mean to say, I'm just going to speak up and just say I shared the form in the chat. So this is linked to Powerbase, which many of you may not have actually heard of, but Powerbase is what we use basically as our
membership database. So if you can take some time, you could take some time now, later today, whenever. We'll also follow up with the link to the form again, to put in information. If you have questions about the form, let me know, let any of us know. One thing I would ask is, to the extent possible, if you can enter your name, and if you know it, if you have multiple email addresses, the email address that you originally registered, like that you registered with Climate Health Now with, that would be great, because then it all links up into your individual entry. If you don't do that or don't know, no worries, but I'll just put it out there.
So I don't know, any questions about the form or anything so far? Can I just get a show of hands? If your Zoom hand maybe would be easiest to see. So who feels like they would be most interested in working on a local hub team, like geographic hub team? Oh, I see Lauren. That's great. Cool.
I see.
Anybody else? That's
We
Jeff.
can't quite
up
see
your
from here.
alley.
Let's see if we can go to gallery.
And maybe Hannah. Awesome. Cool. Okay.
And Vanessa put in the chat, are we considering working with legislators to sponsor or sign on to specific bills, or waiting to see what legislation comes up? So I think at this point, it would be much more the latter, seeing what legislation comes up. So I know we've talked about this before, and just again, very high level, we're another team that we're building that is non-CHN members is the Advocacy Advisory Council, which has representation from groups, health groups, environmental justice groups, who have a really keen and specific eye on what's happening legislatively and regulatorily at the state level in California. So I think that we're really going to lean on them for where they think our voices are most needed and most effective. I think if they said we think that if we could activate to get X person to sign on to this bill, and we as a leadership team and as felt like, okay, we have capacity to do that, then that could be something we do. But I don't think out of the gate we would be it would be much more like what legislation and regulations exist and are upcoming.
Maybe in the years ahead, Vanessa.
Yeah.
I like the ambition.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, so I was just thinking as we were talking through this, and sorry, I haven't talked through it with the transitional leadership team, but I actually would love to hear the membership's take on this. So would it make sense that, all new membership and also just everybody who's a member of CHN be assigned to a geographic hub based off of where they live, so that they can tap in when they, have the bandwidth to, in order to support kind of their local work?
Schwinn, I know we haven't explicitly talked about it. My thinking is yes, is like by default, you live in California, you come in, you're slotted in, or slotted makes it sound too connected. Like you are invited to join your local your regional team, and then I think where people choose to get activated is going to be more based on their interests and their bandwidth and what they want, but I think the default would be that you go to your regional team when you join.
Okay. Thanks.
Somebody else? Does anybody else have a comment or question?
Two people.
Actually, I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Is that Renata?
This Renata. I cannot find San Francisco. I can find the peninsula, but not San Francisco.
Okay.
On the map. It is just a comment.
Okay. If it is not there, that is completely inadvertent, because Margie, who made the map,
I figured.
So
the peninsula is there. It didn't really fit very well. but you know,
Yeah.
on the
It would
map, it's
be-
too
it would
long.
Northern California, yes, but we
Yeah,
will.
yeah, Northern California, yeah.
Okay, good catch. And Vanessa, I don't know if that's an old hand or a new hand. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, Hannah. You will get to be on 2 teams. I mean, I think, yeah, that's certainly going to come up. What Hannah put in the chat. What if you live in a different hub than where you work? So I would say kind of, I don't know, the opportunity would be bigger, but my sense would be to kind of work on whichever had the greatest need. But I could see either way. What would you think about, Hannah?
I was thinking of probably being more central just because I work in the Central Valley but live in Sacramento. And I feel like the need might be a little bit bigger in the Central Valley.
Yeah,
I would support that. I think if people are comfortable with it, we would lean toward the side where there's more need, however we define need, like just fewer voices, a more challenging political environment, whatever the situation is. But I think ultimately it's up to the member, you know, what you want, but I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if Vanessa had it. Vanessa, did you have another question?
Sorry, no, I just can't get my hand down for some reason.
And then just on that, to follow up, so if you could raise your Zoom hand, raise your Zoom hand if you would feel really excited about being part of a resource team, just so we can get kind of a visual. If healthcare decarb or CHN speaks would be kind of what you would want to put your attention into. Ilana, I saw that coming. Nice. And Pam, cool. Jeff, yeah. That sounds good. Cool. Yeah. So I think, it's a really exciting time to be involved. And I feel like we've done a lot of internal work that has been hard to, disengage from some of the external work, but we have kind of a real clear vision for how to move forward in a really impactful way. So it's a great time to be joining, to Carla and Pam. So we're glad you're here.
And thank you to everyone who has waited this out. I feel just so much gratitude and more clarity. And heck, I quit my job to work with you all. So, here we go.
This is it. All in.
Right, exactly.
Okay, we can go to the next slide. But please do fill out the form because we really want to hear your feedback there too. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I think you have a full slide about CMA, right? So
yeah, I thought I had those coming up.
okay. We're just gonna run through all of these and probably get you all out even a little bit early. Okay, so this is some things coming up. This Friday, there is the first ever California Medical Association event around climate and health. I will put all of these links in the chat once I'm done talking. But so there's a virtual option, there's an in-person option in Los Angeles. I think there's like 150 people registered, maybe
50 in person.
Yeah. So this is super exciting. And we'll share that link. Oh yeah.
And if obviously, most people aren't going to be able to travel if you haven't planned it, but if you can live stream it from wherever you are. And I apologize that this isn't more inclusive. It's because it's CMA that it's only for medical students and medical doctors, so it's really unpleasantly exclusive, but it's at least it's any California medical doctor or medical student. So please do, share that if you have some colleagues, because the more people who show up, it's going to be awesome. We have like Rohan Radhakrishnan, who's the director of the California Department of Public Health Office of Health Equity. He's going to be the keynote. Assembly member Luz Rivas is speaking. Lisa Patel is speaking from the consortium. We have Deborah Gore Manning, who's the president of Greenlining Institute, who's doing great work. And somebody from Mazzetti who's doing healthcare decarb. So it's going to be a really exciting conversation. So yeah.
Awesome. All righty. So that's the CMA event. An event that we are hosting that we're really excited about, and hopefully we just sent out an email about it a few days ago. So if you will send it again, and I'll share the link in a second, but probably many of us, if not all of us, have heard about Prop 30, which is on the ballot right now, which will use tax the wealthiest Californians, basically above $2 million, to fund EV infrastructure, electric vehicle infrastructure, and firefighting efforts, including there's specific funding for mental health of firefighters, which I think is especially compelling. American Lung Association has been the major health group that has been putting support behind Prop 30. There's a really large coalition of groups that have come out to support it. Interestingly, for reasons we're not going to get into on this call, there's interesting opposition, but it is a really exciting proposition. And on Tuesday from 12:30 to 1:30, we're going to host a 1-hour webinar. We'll hear from the director of the Coalition for Clean Air, Chris Chavez. Yep. More about Prop 30, and then we're going to share some information just in the, it'll be the final 10 days or so before the election on how we can use our health voices in support of Prop 30 in terms of writing letters to the editor, op-eds, etc. So if you're at all interested in that, please join us. It should be really interesting. Renata, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. It came up earlier this morning on a voter meeting.
Okay.
About the $2 million. I suppose the answer would be the same. It's $2 million income.
Yeah.
It's
not what you own. I mean, I don't know. I mean, many people don't own $2 million, but
annual income.
Yeah.
But people were upset because they figured, oh my God, they want my little house.
No, it's above $2 million.
$2 million. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's an income tax.
Yeah. I got it. Okay. Thank you.
Alrighty, but good question. And then I'm going to share the link in 1 second to our next monthly meeting, which will be in November. So here's how you can register for that, November 16th. And then very relevantly, please don't forget to vote by November 8th. I think probably all of us have our ballots already. So let's not forget to vote and spread the word.
Jeff, did you want to mention the Eco Fest coming up in Walnut Creek?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
This Saturday from 11 to 3, my wife has organized this. There's an Eco Fest in Civic Park, which is downtown there. It's walking distance from BART and from all the stores. So if anybody's in the East Bay would like to join us, there's going to be circus performers and games for the kids and an art project for the kids, an eco trick or treat. And then there's going to be a lot of booths for adults. I'm going to have a CHN booth there. So if anybody wants to go and wants to help also for a little while or stop by, there's going to be a car show. They're going to have EV cars there. So it should be entertaining and fun and stuff for the kids too. Thanks.
I will be there, but I'm going to be in LA at the CMA meeting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But that's great. Thanks for doing that. And then we can go to the next slide. Were there any other updates of like save the date stuff? Okay. And then, so this is the pass the hat moment, as if we were, if we were in person, we would be literally passing the hat. So in addition to the structure we talked about and the statewide leadership team, we're also looking to have 3 CHN staff roles in the next year to really, supercharge our work and make it sustainable. So Amanda is going to be in the managing director role. I'm hoping to be in the strategic director role, and then we're going to be looking for and hiring a community organizing director. So we can go to the next slide. And the reason, can you show the
sorry.
the reason that we are asking for fundraising right now is really specifically to get the get off the ground in terms of staffing CHN. So we already have around $64,000 in the bank. From 50,000 was a grant that we got, and then 14,000 from our really generous members. And we need to raise about 36,000 more before we start recruiting. So if you could contribute, I know a lot of you already do and have, and we appreciate it. And it's adding up, actually. So we have 501c3, so this would all be tax deductible, and 501, yeah. So anyway, I can't see.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the link for the chat.
So we would really appreciate your support, and do appreciate, you know, the support you've already shared. So just putting that out there. And if you have any friends who are looking for tax breaks, send them our way. And then the next slide.
Oh, I have an idea.
Do you want to, was that you, Renata?
Yeah, but I mumbled to myself because I'm not sure it's going to work, but I'll try.
Okay. You can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Do you want to share it now, or?
Yeah, I mean, I may have access to some funds.
Cool.
It just depends if they have already allocated it for now, but you will take it anytime, right?
We will.
Yes. Yeah. We would love to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so what I will need is the exact, I mean, it went away again on the screen.
Yeah.
The exact designation so that I can put it in for a grant.
Okay. Renata, we'll follow up with you via email.
Okay. Okay. It just might work. And if it doesn't work now, maybe it'll work later.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We're in.
I just don't like to make promises I don't have a point for.
No. Well, we're happy to explore it. That'd be great. I'll follow up with you, Renata. Okay, and then we can go 2 slides forward, I think. And then the last one is how members can join. So can you take over?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I'm searching for 2. I will drop 2 links in the chat shortly. So how anyone can join, just go to our website, climatehealthnow.org, and click the Join Us button, and that gets you into our database. You can also scan the QR code. And again, we are looking for all the health people. I actually am super excited. I'm going to talk to my the medical assistants at my clinic about CHN next week. And so we're hoping to bring in some medical assistant members. I mean, it's a big problem. We need as many of us as we can get. So spread this link around and share it widely, please.
Yeah. And I think that's about it. We have a couple minutes if anybody wants to stay on or has questions. And also maybe if you go forward one more slide, Shawin, and thank you, Shawin, for doing all the slide sharing. So if you have any feedback, we always want to hear it and have a growth mindset. So if you want to share anything that you think went well today or could have gone better, that'd be great. But the key thing we'd really love to have you take a little time to do is the form about your interest.
Yeah.
And then we'll follow up with you about that. Yeah. So thank you all for joining. Yes, on Prop 30. Yeah.
Awesome. And there's the form again.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. 1 minute early, and Shwin and Brenda and Noma and Margie and Abstentia, thank you specifically for all the work so far and all the work that's to come. Yeah, awesome. Stay cool to the NorCal people.
Okay.
Awesome. All righty. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.